thank you all, and thank you all for everything you do. I thought I saw, there's Mark Wilson when I walked in. Thank you. Thank you, Florida Chamber. Thank you, business groups. I know you've heard from our great governor about all the jobs that he's bringing here, and I always say it's his job to bring jobs to our state and help keep all of you, our great businesses, but it's mine to make Florida the safest place to live, work, and raise a family. And we've been doing everything we can, and I hope you're reading all the good stuff that we've been doing over the last many years. It seems like yesterday, and it also seems like a lifetime sometimes. But in the next couple years, we are going to be going non-stop to do everything possible to combat some things. I'm going to talk to you today, I figured, just about public safety, because that impacts all of us, every single one of us, all of your businesses. So don't think it's all negative, because we're making some great strides. I can tell you we have the best law enforcement officers in the country, and we have the best prosecutors. And we all work hand in hand to combat everything I'm about to talk to you about. Crime, of course, is at a 45-year low, but we know we have a long way to go. And we're working every day to do that. As you know, last night, I'm sure someone's talked to you, we were all at an event that the Restaurant and Lodging Association put on, an amazing event about what happened right here in Orlando regarding Pulse. You know, we lost 49 lives, many are still injured in a horrific, horrific event. But we all worked together on that, and that was truly about this community and all of our businesses. I've never in my career seen anything like this coming together in one place. I had 19 victims advocates. People you probably didn't even know this was one of my roles as Attorney General. 19 advocates that we brought in from around the state, thinking they'd be here for a couple days. They were still here 3 weeks later. So far, we've dispensed well over $300,000 in funeral expenses, counseling, lost wages, helping, you know, and the dynamic of that situation was interesting, because so many of our victims and family members were Spanish speaking. So many of them were from the Dominican or Puerto Rico. So we had to help arrange funeral services either here or in Puerto Rico. Our 5 major airlines, I've never seen anything like this in my life. We're all sitting there booking flights for family members. For one family, they flew 20 people, 18 to 20 people, here to Orlando and then to Puerto Rico to bury their loved one. It was unreal. And they, you would see JetBlue, and I'm not calling any of them, but sitting by American, sitting by all the airlines, Southwest, saying, hey, I can get this person on this flight. Hey, I can get him on this flight. I can get him on this flight. Doing all that, just booking it. Homeland Security, they were unbelievable. Some people had expired passports. They're expediting passports. They were amazing. We were helping, you know, there are certain things that every agency can pay for. Salvation Army, they're giving out food cards. You know, many people got here and weren't able to eat, and doing that. And one thing I remember, we were trying to get passports expedited, which we did with the help of Senator Rubio's office out of Miami to get them renewed, but then no one had the ability through our offices to pay for the fee for the passports and the visas. I got on the phone, one called to Nadine Smith at Equality Florida, and within half an hour she was there with cashier's checks. That's how it was working. The FBI advocates, our advocates, all of our great first responders. I can't name enough of the organizations that were all working together, DEA, ATF, hand in hand, and that's what it's about. And I've always said that's what makes our state so special. My counterparts all over the country cannot believe how well we all work together in Florida, and that's what makes us so special and so different. I know we mentioned pill mills. We probably need to update my bio, because thank goodness, I think when I spoke to you 5 years ago, we were fighting pill mills. We had 7 Floridians dying a day, and you know, we all fought. It was a joint effort, tough and hard, to end these doctors who are on every street corner dispensing pills. Of the top 100 oxycodone dispensers, doctors in the entire country, 98 of them lived in Florida. 98. Now we have 0. So we put them out of business. I'm going to talk to you about drugs, and this is my obsession because it's tied in, you'll see, to so many things, and it's also tied into all your businesses and what you do. And I need your help as corporate partners. I need your help. We knew when we took the pills off the street that heroin would be an unintended consequence. We always thought heroin with needles on a dark street corner at night. Well, now these creative chemists, they're putting it in a pill form. And I hope you've been reading. They're cutting it with fentanyl. They're cutting it with all these synthetic drugs, and they're making it into pills. It's every day I learn something, but we're stopping it as we go. So heroin is now a new drug on the streets, and 2 days ago I was in Ocala, and we signed, you know, I've been signing emergency orders on these synthetic drugs, which is basically heroin made from household chemicals. I've signed a total of, multiple orders, but a total of 136 compounds. And then this past session, we did, it's called an analog, basically where if they just change the compounds a little, they'll still be illegal. And you all know what the synthetic drugs are, the spice, the bath salts, the Scooby-Doo snacks, which burn me up because they're marketed towards little kids. And they were being sold everywhere. And now it's illegal. Our great law enforcement officers are going in and getting them, and our prosecutors are all going after them. But there's a new one. It doesn't even, they sometimes call it Pinky, but this is the one I signed the emergency. And let me tell you, I don't sign an emergency order lightly. That's not power. That's tremendous responsibility. And the only time I have ever exercised that authority is on these synthetic drugs, because these drug dealers will not beat us. We're going to beat them. And this new one, thanks. This new one is just crazy. It's called U-47700, also known as Pinky. What they're doing with this junk is it's manufactured in Asia mainly, and it's coming in through traditional smuggling routes, Canada, and of course through Mexico, and it's all flowing right into our state. Then we've got these dealers, and this is something that I learned this week. What they're doing is I knew it was in a pill form, but what they're doing is they're pressing it into pills that look like Xanax and selling it on the streets. I have no evidence of Adderall yet, but I know Adderall's a drug of choice, you know, among college students now. So you getting the word out, if anyone needs a prescription for anything, go to a doctor. Don't be buying it on the street, because what they're doing, they're putting, in Pinellas County alone, Sheriff Gualtari told me they had 5 deaths, and we confirmed these with the medical examiner, and they looked like Xanax pills. And what they were was heroin, fentanyl, and this new drug that I just signed the emergency order on. 5 deaths. The Panhandle, 3 deaths. And so we're constantly on top of that, and we're working with our good businesses, but you've got to get it out to your employees. Anything you can do to help us fight this, because again, teens, college kids, older people don't think they're taking anything that strong, and they're taking things that basically could tranquilize an elephant. Literally, that's what these drugs are. So we're doing everything we can to fight that, to get those off the street, and I'll continue to do that with everything I've got. And you're going to see a couple more that I'll be outlining within the next couple weeks, signing emergency orders on. And then what happens is I can make something illegal until it goes through session, and then all of the ones have passed unanimously through our great lawmakers, and I'm sure they will continue to. But we're very careful on the substances that we choose, of course, that we know are harming people out there. All this ties into something else, human trafficking. You know, and I hope you've all heard me talk ad nauseum about human trafficking. It is real, it is thriving in our state, and we are doing everything we can to stop it. Early on, I've partnered with many of you. We partnered, I think you've heard me say probably before, our truckers, because where do you take a little girl to traffic or a little boy? A truck stop. The ER doctors, they came to me and said, hey, we think we're seeing cases of human trafficking of young women or men being beat up, taken into the ER, and someone older in control is with them, and we don't know what to do. So we've been educating them as they've been educating us, and we've been educating them on what to do. I learned something new, at the scene of Pulse when we were on the ground there for so many weeks that, I typically say that it's girls that are being trafficked, but so many of our gay community, when their family finds out that they're gay, they kick them out of their houses. And these kids, teens, young adults are living on the streets. And they are being trafficked as well. So I'm going to talk about our summit we have coming up in a minute, but we are doing a whole panel on transgender, on our gay community, and on these kids who desperately need help. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of good families. I'm going to tell you one story, Pulse. There was a young, I don't want to give away identities of anyone, young man, he actually worked at Universal, and he lived. And the first day, when you're there 3 weeks, the first day on the ground, you're meeting families who believe that their child is dying. And I didn't know originally, this was a family who had adopted this young man many years ago when his family kicked him out. A wonderful Catholic family. And I prayed with them originally, talked to them, and we all thought he probably wouldn't make it. He was shot multiple times in the back and spine. And they came and found me weeks later and asked me to go see him in the hospital, and he is amazing. He's in his early 20s. He is going to live. He is doing great. And thanks to a loving family and a lot of incredible doctors right here in Orlando. But had they not adopted him, he could have been in a very worse situation. And we had a lot of victims who were out on their own. Because family members didn't want to, not a lot, but some, family members who didn't want to accept what happened. So my 19 advocates were there for 3 weeks. We helped pay for funeral expenses. So far, I think it's $300,000, well over $330,000 that we've dispensed. We have a lot more to go still, but the funerals are taken care of, counseling, the lost wages, everything we can do. And just to put human trafficking in perspective, in 2013, we had stronger laws passed to give my statewide prosecutors the authority to go after human traffickers. And you've all heard me say, of the calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, Florida ranks third in the entire country. The entire country. So we knew we had to stop. That's when we started partnering with the truckers, the doctors, everybody else who were great. So what that did, it gave my statewide prosecutors the authority to go after these guys. You have 20 great elected state attorneys here. We also have 3 great U.S. attorneys, and they're all going after human trafficking. What my statewide prosecutors now have the jurisdiction to do, thanks to the legislature, they can go after, and many of these are multi-county. We took out a big one that was multi-county right in this area, actually, and in Tampa Bay in the I-4 corridor, because they're multi-county. So now that they have, let me just tell you, so my office, who has a tiny piece of this pie, just to show you how real this is, we have 65 defendants pending in court right now. 65 defendants, just my statewide prosecutors. Think how many victims are associated with each defendant. We have 31 pending investigations, and we have had over 41 cases resolved just since we were given the authority to go after those cases. That's how big this is in Florida. I've been to Mexico City with my counterparts, Republican and Democrat alike. We all work so well together. It was not a pleasant trip. It was very frightening, I'll tell you, being in Mexico City. We had to drive in armored cars. I was with Kamala Harris, my counterpart from California. We had to drive in armored cars, John Southers from Colorado, many of us, and go hours and hours to a safe house. And that's where I learned that was one thing Mexico was doing better than us, safe houses. And so after, I'm going to talk about the Human Trafficking Council in a minute, but that's where I knew we had to do better with safe houses for these young women and men and kids. But what's happening is they're being abducted. Many of them, you think that they're, I think when you watch TV, a lot of you think they're from other countries. They're not. Some are, and they're just as much a victim, but many of them are runaways. And when you run away, where do you want to come? Florida. Many of them are runaways. Many of them are kids who have been bumped from foster home to foster home. Many of them are in their late teens, 20s, who aged out of foster care, have nowhere to go. They are taken by these monsters. They are immediately addicted to drugs. That's where the heroin comes in. They are raped 40 times a day, many of them. Constantly. And so they have, when we're dealing with these victims, they not only have the drug addiction, they have the severe psychological issues of the rapes that they've suffered, and the mental issue, and the physical issues of the rapes, and some of them are babies having babies as a product of rape. So we've been working very closely with the Mexican attorneys general. They have been incredible partners. I brought them here to the Middle District of Florida and asked the U.S. Attorney in the Middle District, he partnered with me, and we helped train them on cyber crimes, because that's where a lot of these kids are being recruited, and that's what they were lacking. So we're working with them on that. We do have, now that we have the Legislative Human Trafficking Council that I'm so proud to chair, we've been really, and thank you to our great lawmakers for giving us the funding to create safe houses, because these victims need a place to go, not only to keep them safe, but also so they'll be our witnesses so we can convict these bad guys. It's almost like Stockholm Syndrome after you've been in captivity for so long. But many of them are in, they've got these people in, nice middle-class houses. These operations are going on in neighborhoods. It's so frightening. So we have our Human Trafficking Summit coming up. It's on October 10th. And all of you, this is my ask. I would urge you to please contact, if you have a pen and paper, you can get it from me, the Florida Juvenile Justice Foundation. If you would like to get involved and help sponsor some people going, that would be great. Then their number is 850-717-2705, and I'll have that up on my website, myfloridalegal.com, by the end of the day. It's October 10th, and we have all-star speakers this year. We've all been working so hard on this. Our last speaker is a renowned doctor, actually from UCF, and he's talking about, and this is where it applies to all of our good businesses. Our last speaker is talking about the trafficking at athletic events, and I think you've heard me say before, where are the number one places to traffic kids? The Republican National, in no particular order, the Democrat National Convention, the Super Bowl, and athletic events. And what do we have coming up right in Tampa? We have the college football playoffs, and right here we have the ACC. So that's a big issue, and we're going to be focusing on that at the summit. Our luncheon speaker is, if you've heard of Ann Archer, have you heard of the beautiful actress Ann Archer? Fatal Attraction, Patriot Games, all of that. But to me, her best work is a 2016 movie she made called Trafficked. And she is truly, in California, an advocate for human trafficking. She's testified in Congress, and she's got a foundation helping, because California has a tremendous problem with it too. So Ann Archer's going to be here at lunch talking about the work that she does and sharing her ideas with Florida. So we urge y'all to talk about that. This time last year, we had 21 individuals that were charged in a massive drug and human trafficking ring, one I talked about right here in Central Florida. And that was a 2-year extensive investigation. It involved heroin, the sex trafficking, and that was right here in this region. So that's why this is so, and by the way, we rescued 20 victims there and 1 child. That's all I'm going to say about that. But that's why this is so very, very important. Now, let me move on to scams. You're all being scammed. You're all attempted victims of scams. So please, and so many of you have been so good about this, thank you, thank you. If a lot of your businesses are catching it, but please report it to us. I can't fix it if I don't know it's broken, because if you catch it, someone else won't. So you can go on my website or 1-866-9-NO-SCAM. But these criminals are getting so creative now, and with the internet and the spoofing, which means they can use one line, and it looks like it's coming from right here in the U.S., IRS, and it's coming from out of the country. And we work with the federal agencies, and they're very hard to catch, but we can stop people from giving them money. I've had 2 people come up to me already, 2 very, very smart people who got the IRS scam. I don't know if any of you have had that. A call saying they're IRS, you owe money. Okay, people are nodding. But we're trying to track those down, and we're working with the federal government on those. The IRS is not going to call you, you know that. But if you can get this information to your employees, you reach thousands and thousands of people, and people get scared, and that's what it's all about. It's invoking fear in people. There was one. I'm seeing a lot of lawyers in the room. There was one that they were calling saying they were me, and that I was going to arrest these young lawyers because they owed more fees that they hadn't paid. I tried to get the FBI to help in that one. I was so mad, but we couldn't catch them, but we can educate people to stop it. And they were also using Billy Schifino, the president of the Florida Bar. They had someone calling saying that it was Billy Schifino and he was going to arrest. It's ridiculous. But when you have young, naive people, they often believe it. So that's so important. And it hurts our consumers, and it hurts all of you, our businesses, because many of them are pretending to be you, pretending to be your good businesses. And that's just, that's what we're going to stop. Tech support scams. That's a growing issue not only in Florida but throughout the country. Of course, we know technology plays such an important role in our lives, whether it's our computer systems or our personal laptops, and they're trying to exploit this dependence that we all have on technology. We're working with the FTC to shut down these scams. They're bilking customers out of millions of dollars every year. Since November 2014, my Consumer Protection Division, we've litigated 8 cases involving these type of scams, more than any other state in the country, and we're very proud of that. Thanks to my office's efforts, most of these operations have been completely shut down, but again, we need you to help us with these. I hope you saw a couple weeks ago, we announced actions to keep closed another tech support scam that was operating right here out of our state. It's unbelievable. One of the common ones too, they're contacting your businesses. They're saying that your computer system is vulnerable. I think all of you in here understand what's happening. They're saying your computer system's vulnerable. You need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this to fix it. And when in fact they're actually hacking your systems. So please get with your IT departments and be very cautious on this. I've already talked about, I think, to this group, the business-to-business scams. They're calling saying that, many of you advertise in the yellow pages, and they're going right through your accounting departments, and these ads look so real, and your accounting departments are just paying them. And that's what strengthens and enables these bad scammers, though. So please continue to check with your accounting departments and get with us if not. And here's why partnering with us is so very important. For instance, retail theft. Publix, I know you're in here somewhere. Publix? There you guys are. There you are. All right, so Publix, you came to me years ago. I went to Lakeland, I sat down, I watched the retail scams that you put together showing, and I was an 18-year prosecutor and was floored by what was happening. These people are coming in, they're stealing the popular things, razor blades, baby formula, and it's a gateway drug, a great gateway crime. What they're doing, they're selling them at flea markets, they're sending them out of state, and they're using the money to finance the drug trade. Everything seems to tie back to drugs, but that's what they're doing. So we passed tougher legislation on that, made the sentencing higher, and just 2-3 weeks ago, I'm losing track of time, we just prosecuted a baby formula case that involved, I believe, $1.8 million of money that was laundered by stealing baby formula. And so that was a tremendous win. So thank you for your cooperation. But not only by doing that, we're helping you keep your prices down, we're protecting your businesses, we're protecting consumers, and we're protecting all of our citizens because they're using this money, again, for trafficking drugs as well. I was in one of my prosecutor's offices just in South Florida. I love walking around and just looking at what they're doing, a young prosecutor, and he had photographs. Am I running out of time? Am I talking too much? He had photographs laid out everywhere. And he had photographs laid out everywhere of what he was working on. And I said, well, what are you doing? And he goes, I've got this case with Home Depot, but It's killing me. I can't get them because their cameras were all just a few feet too high. So all you got was the top of a baseball hat walking out the door. And think about the thousands and thousands of dollars. I called Home Depot, time is up. I called Home Depot, and now guess where their cameras are? Lower. And we're taking the bad guys. So my prosecutors and all prosecutors are taking this serious. So we're able to take them off the streets because of your work and your cooperation. So the future of Florida is good because we're going after them. We will continue to go after them with your help. You're going to be hearing me talk a lot about these apps that these kids are using. They're scaring me to death because whether it's Minecraft, whether it's Down to Lunch, they have your child's location. You're going to be talking about that. That all factors into cyberbullying, teen suicide. So all this is tied in. This is all coming up. This isn't all negative. It's positive because we're helping people and we're saving lives. So thank you. If you have any questions, please call me directly. We're here to help. And thank you for being such great corporate partners and great citizens. And we do live in the greatest state in this country, and we want to continue to make it that way. Thank you. Thank you.